You may have seen the news, especially if you are a big Metallica or heavy metal fan. But yes, as you probably noticed from the title, if you didn't know, James Hetfield and Metallica announced earlier today that the frontman is going back into rehab. Now, if you just stumbled across the channel and you don't know what we do here, well, we do lots of things here. It's basically a big bag of rebels, whatever. Screw the YouTube rules. I develop videos where I talk about mental health and struggles and human life and how we should all probably be more open to talking about that stuff. So we haven't done one for a while, but when things come across that kind of affect me on a personal level, I have something to say. I'm like, okay, I'll jump on camera and we'll talk about it, and that is what we're going to do. What we're going to do right now. Again, subscribe, all that nonsense. I don't want to go on too much about that today, given the subject matter, but it's all in the description should you so wish to be interested. Now, two things when it comes to James Hetfield. One, again, if you watch any of my content, you know that I'm a massive Metallica fan. They basically changed my entire life when I was 16. I first heard No Leaf Clover off S&M. Again, it's all out there if you want to go and check it out. So my first thing that I panicked about when I was on Twitter this morning, and you see James Hetfield's name trending, is like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. And I realized when that does happen, let's beat around the bush a bit, but when that does happen, I'm going to have to take a week off. That's going to take a while for me to process. I don't really like ever saying that because I don't know James Hetfield or anything like that, and I never want to feel like I'm taking away other people's grief, because obviously his friends and family would be far more affected by that. But, these people in the public eye, especially when it comes to music and how music can, change somebody's emotional state, it's incredible how you find connections to people, like I say, that are essentially strangers. What it turns out, though, is I think it's 18 years after he went into rehab for the first time. I think it was 2001, and obviously they came out and they made the St. Anger record, ahead of its time, by the way, but we won't get into that. Metallica announced on Twitter, social media, that he's going back into rehab, and they're cancelling their New Zealand and they're cancelling their Australian tours. Now, this is nuts, I would imagine, if you do follow the band, because it certainly seemed like he was in a good place. Like I say, it's been almost 2 decades since this happened, so it was a bit out of left field. I mean, it did happen on I can't remember the anniversary now. I think it was 86, 96, 2000, 33 years I think it was since Cliff Burton died. I may be wrong, but anyway, it was on the anniversary of Cliff Burton's death, who is the Metallica bassist, if you don't know, who died tragically in a bus wreck when they were traveling through Sweden. And it's, I would, sometimes there's no smoke without fire. I would imagine, that had to tie in, I should say. But anyway, look, I'm not here to sort of go through a list of facts about James Hetfield. I just wanted to set the scene. I mean, most importantly, throughout all of this, I hope James Hetfield gets the help that he needs. I hope James Hetfield comes out the other side feeling good. I hope he has support. And I got nothing but good vibes and positivity for the man who has given me so many good vibes and positivity throughout my own life. But it kind of ties into the bigger picture, and I've already seen it on social media, and it just drives me nuts. So I thought, well, rather get into a negative war with anybody, as does happen when you try and talk to these morons, I'll make a video about it, and I'll talk, and I'll try and throw some of it back out into the world, and we can see what happens. The big criticism when these things happen to people like James Hetfield, or any kind of musician, actor, whatever, that goes into rehab is, what have they got to be upset about? They've got all the money in the world. They're living the dream. I'd love to be in their position. They should step into my shoes. And I'm not saying that anybody doesn't have problems, whether you're a celebrity or not. But this is my point. This is why I want to make videos like this and talk about mental health and struggles and difficulties, whichever words you want to use. That almost makes it worse. Now, of course it doesn't, because there's no hierarchy when it comes to how you feel. But if James Hetfield, who is living his dream, who is the front man in a band that many consider to be the best band of all time, doesn't have to worry about money, whatever, if he can suffer it, and if he can, struggle with something like addiction, because again, the first time he went in, it was for alcohol addiction, and I'm pretty sure Metallica said that in their statement. So, if he is gone back to dealing with addiction issues, that just goes to show that there's still things happening up here that he needs help with. And again, you should look at it this way. If James Hetfield needs help, then my word, at some point, I'm sure we're all going to need help. And you know what? That's okay. And that's the thing that, again, that I want to get into, is that all these outside forces don't control how you feel in your head. And again, while we are speculating here, just imagine you did lose a good friend during your formative years and you went on to have all this success. I'd imagine there may be some guilt there, or at least some difficulties, some anxiety, some apprehension that you have to work through. And people will go out there and they will rely on crutches to try and help them get through it. I say this all the time. If you're having a hard time at work and I said, don't worry about what it is, take this magic pill and this magic pill will make you feel good for 48 hours. I would say the majority of people, when they're really feeling down on their luck and they feel like they've got nowhere to go, are like, you know what? I'm going to take that pill. And that's why people, in these situations anyway, that's why people turn to alcohol, they turn to drugs, they turn to food, they turn to loneliness, they turn to cutting themselves off from the world. Some people self-harm, there's so many things. And again, you get these assholes on social media. I know they're idiots, but still, it still creates a conversation. Why would anybody do that? Why can't they control themselves? Because they're going through stuff. And nobody sits there and opens their Halifax bank account. Probably don't have Halifax in America, I don't know. But they open their Halifax, I'll go, I'm a millionaire. Now all of a sudden I feel better, because he's not worried about money. He's worried about something else. And yes, I totally understand that if you do have all those other issues, maybe you've lost a friend, maybe you're struggling with alcohol issues, and you have money problems, then of course it's just going to be something that adds up. But if those money problems went away, it's not all of a sudden going to make you feel better. It just won't. It's great that that's one less thing you have to be concerned with, but the other concerns don't leave. And that's why when celebrities get into these predicaments, I mean, some celebrities over the last few years, well, always, but I think maybe there's been more of a big deal made out of it, because thankfully in 2019, we can talk about mental health more openly, but they have even taken their own lives. And you get the same rhetoric, the same back and forth. I just really want to get to it. I'm not the be all and end all when it comes to mental health, right? I'm just a bald idiot on the internet that has somewhat on a platform, and I felt passionate about this, and I thought, well, what's the best way to use it? And in my head, this is the best way. Could be completely wrong. But that's why we've got to look at these situations and realize we've just got to try and normalize mental health as much as we can. So if you are, I don't know, Clive, and you work in Halifax, we'll use it, you're a bank manager, I don't know. Sometimes in life, there's every chance that you may go through some stuff that affects you up here. And again, it's not that you're not doing the job that you wanted to do or whatever. That's just what happens. Life is really hard. Like, if you want to get proper hippie trippy, we are just a bunch of people who are flying through space on a rock with this giant yellow thing that heats us up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's an unfathomable environment to actually make sense of when you take a step back. But there's just no way anybody can go through life being 100% all the time. And I think these people that can't see that, or for some reason are both jealous of someone like James Hetfield's success, but also mad at him that he's not, on top form all the time. I just don't think you're looking at the world for what it is. And also, as you get older, you can argue that you do have more problems thrown on your plate, because you're going to experience things for the first time, like loved ones dying, or illnesses that you may get. And also you have all the struggles that you've gone through in your younger years, which we've all had. So it all starts to pile up. And if anything, I think we should be looking at someone like James Hetfield as a wonderful example of what to do when you do find yourselves in such a position, and that is to take charge, take ownership, and go put yourself in a place where you can get better and you can get back to doing the things that you love to do, and more importantly, that you can be happy. Because really, that's all life is. All life is an eternal quest to be happy. You get up and you're like, well, what can I do today to put a smile on my face? And sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's not. It can be reliant on sleep, what you ate the previous night, if you're dehydrated, but also there's outside forces. And that's why the word, and I use it too, I guess because it's become a common word, but the word is always struggle, right? I feel like I'm struggling today. And I guess there's a negativity to that too, because again, it makes it sound like if you have a mental health problem or you're struggling upstairs, that there is some badness to it. And the thing is, there's really not. It's not nice, and ideally none of us would be going through it. But ultimately, that's just how the brain works. There are outside forces at work here that get into the body, and you try and process them the best you can. But nobody can be expected to be on that all of the time. It wears you out. Life is hard. I mean, life is brilliant and wonderful at the same time, but without wanting to be a cliche, it is full of ups and downs. And the whole reason the ups can be so good is because you know what one of the downs is, or you've been through the downs. So you're like, I've got this parity, and I understand. And unfortunately, some people have more downs, and thankfully, some people have more ups. But like I say, there's no question about it. James Hetfield is a hero of mine. To me, probably the greatest musician ever, because again, the music that he's put out there transformed who I was as an individual, and also spoke to me on a much higher level than anyone else that I could think of. I don't know, asshole, whatever. It always sounds stupid when people talk like that, but it is true. Like, the reason that rhetoric is out there is because it is true. So when you do see things like, it's twofold, right? When you do see things like that, firstly, your heart goes out to them and you wish them nothing but the best. But then also there's this backlash, and I get it. Like, if you were a fan in New Zealand, Australia, and you're really excited to see them, and then you get told it's been cancelled, of course it's going to suck. Of course you're going to have somewhat of a reaction where you're pissed off, and that's normal too. But when that dust settles, they're offering refunds. It's not what's important. ultimately. You know, the most important thing is a human being doing what he needs to do for himself, doing what he needs to do for his friends and his family and his kids. I mean, imagine you did go and see him, and then after the fact you found out that he was going through these awful times. That's not what you want. You want James Hetfield in his pomp. You want James Hetfield in a good, positive place, throwing out that. You don't want the other one where he's, grinding through it or gritting his teeth through it just because that's what we have to do. I mean, that gets into toxic masculinity, and I've done that before. I ain't going to do that again because, my word, if you want to spark off the internet, talk about toxic masculinity. But as a conclusion, if you are out there and you are a man and you don't feel like you want to drink beer and punch yourself in the face or, I don't know what else, have sex with a wall, I don't know, whatever men are meant to do, that's cool. You do you. Man, female, woman, goat, elephant, television, light, well, just do you, man. Or you, woman, just do you. Just figure out what works for you. And yeah, you're probably going to deal with some crap, but I think everybody deals with some crap. The idea is you figure out how to get through is too strong a term, but you just figure out what you need to do every 24 hours and keep doing that. And don't let the bastards get you down. The best piece of advice my mother ever gave me, probably shouldn't use the word bastards, but hey, she did. Don't let the bastards get you down because nothing to do with them. You do you. And on that note, I give you a salute. If you haven't made it this far, look, if you can subscribe, that's great. You don't have to. Who cares, right? It's just YouTube. I mean, it's a cool little tool, and I wouldn't be able to do this without this, but I don't want to turn it into a pimping thing. But like the video, share the video. And more importantly, definitely comment below. Having a chat about this is really important. I've done stuff like this before, and I already know there's one or two going, it's fine. That's your opinion, that's fine. I don't agree with it, and I do think you're being detrimental to the mental health movement. But hey, freedom of speech, and you have the power to say whatever you want in the comments, and I respect that as much as I can. May also call you an asshole. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd be more respectful than that. But yeah, that's how these things work. But thank you so much for watching, and again, all the love, all the power to James Hetfield. I mean, you'll never see this, but thank you from a dude who you've been entertaining for who knows how long, probably at least... who even knows? I can't even think about it. But, and yeah, while it was a surprise, because again, I think most fans thought, not that was all in the past, because an addict is an addict forever. It's just a shock, right? It's not what you expect to wake up and see. So all the love to him, all the love to you, and I'll see you soon.